And we're going to keep pushing forward with part 3. So this is going to include sections 53 and 54 as we currently have it today. So section 53, the earliest copy that we get is from Revelation Book 1 in the handwriting of John Whitmer. There are some small grammatical changes, as you can see, and verse numbering, again, that we get from, I believe it is W.W. Phelps, who was a publisher, so it makes sense that he was sort of organizing these things. Anyway, it is also found in Sidney Rigdon and Sidney Gilbert notebooks, which is good because, again, they're being referenced here. It is found in the manuscript history of the church, and it is also chapter 55 in the Book of Commandments and section 66 in the original Doctrine and Covenants. There are some differences between the 1981 and 2013 section headings, and it is only the date. We go from June of 1831 in the 1981 version to June 8th of 1831. Boom. Got a date there, which is great. Anyway, sorry. I have my entertainments where I get them. So the Revelation Book 1 introduction to this says, 56th Commandment, June 8th, 1831, a revelation to Sidney Gilbert, his call, etc. Both of the Sidney's copies give the same thing. It actually says a commandment of the Lord to Sidney, and that's Sidney Gilbert. The manuscript history gives 8th of June, 1831, Wednesday, shortly after the above was received, which was section 51, at his request, I, Joseph Smith, Jr., inquired of the Lord and received the following revelation to Sidney Gilbert, given June of 1831. Okay, so we get into the Documents, Volume 1, Historical Introduction. We get Sidney Gilbert, the recipient of this revelation, was Newell K. Whitney's business partner and an early convert to the church. He may have been present at a June 5th, 1831 meeting at which Joseph Smith taught that, quote, the elders would have large congregations to speak to, and they must soon take their departure into the regions west, unquote. The next evening, Joseph Smith dictated a revelation that commissioned a number of elders to accompany him to Missouri, which the text called, quote, the land which I will consecrate unto my people, which are a remnant of Jacob, and those who are heirs according to the covenant, unquote. The 6th June revelation did not name Gilbert among those who should travel to Missouri. Joseph Smith's history records that shortly after the reception of that revelation, Gilbert approached Joseph Smith and requested direction for himself. In response, Joseph Smith dictated this revelation that gave Gilbert assignments in the church, including the instruction to travel to Missouri with Joseph Smith and Sidney Rigdon. Gilbert left for Missouri on the 18th of June with Joseph Smith and Rigdon. Pretty good traveling companions. So that's what we get circumstantially. Little of the content of footnotes here. The text states inside of this revelation, and also to be an agent unto this church in the place which shall be appointed by the bishop, according to the commandments which shall be given hereafter. So footnote 4 to this, Gilbert was the first person to be appointed an agent unto this church. A previous revelation outlined the duties of Bishop Edward Partridge and called for the appointment of an agent. It says, quote, let there be an agent appointed unto this people to take the money and provide food and raiment according to the wants of this people, unquote. So there you go. Talking about agents, now you have an agent. That's Sidney Gilbert. Footnote 5 to the same thing says, once the elders arrived in Missouri, Gilbert was commanded by revelation to settle there and assist Edward Partridge with the church's temporal affairs. Specifically, the revelation directed Gilbert to keep a store and act as a land agent. So he quickly gets thrown into the thick of it. We need you to make a store. We need some goods here. And you're going to settle down, live here, and be a land agent. So there you go. This revelation, in a sense, is fulfilling an earlier one that says we're going to have a bishop, and the bishop is going to have agents. Now, again, in the current term of that, what we do now is the presiding bishop of the church is a bishop, as well as his counselors are also both bishops. And then, of course, there's many others that I'm sure that are designated as agents. So this sort of thing is still done today because the presiding bishop also handles in the current church like all of the humanitarian efforts as well. So it's quite a large calling. So you would need to have agents in order to function. So there you go. So that's section 53. And we'll be keeping that brief again for the sake of time, but that's all we get from the Joseph Smith papers. Going into section 54, the earliest copy of this revelation we get is from Revelation Book 1 in the handwriting of John Whitmer. We get some verse numbering here by William W. Phelps. And we get a take mark. If you want to go back to one of the earlier episodes that we have, take marks is at the end of, kind of marks the end of the fourth gathering of the Book of Commandments. So as they were going, they would basically make a little mark there and say, okay, we're going to end it here, and we're going to print a bunch of pages. They're going to be paginated, cut, and so forth. And that'll be the gathering that we put when we bind it together. So that's a take mark. It is found in John Whitmer's history. The previous versions of this are usually like, hey, insert Revelation here. In this case, he actually writes it out. So there you go. Chapter 56 in the Book of Commandments. That's where you'll find this. And it is section 67 in the 1835 Doctrine and Covenants. It is also found in the manuscript history of the church. And boy, do we have a big change here. There is quite a bit of difference between the 1981 and the 2013 section headings to this. So you do get June 1831 versus June 10th of 1831, which we have now. So a lot more specificity there. The headings have the same language about location. The members are arriving in Thompson and divided on questions about consecration, and then things get different. So the 1981 section heading continues by saying, selfishness and greed were manifest, and Leman Copley had broken his covenant to consecrate his large farm as a place of inheritance for the saints arriving from Colesville, New York. Ezra Thayer was also involved in the controversy. As a consequence, Newell Knight, president of the branch at Thompson, and other elders had come to the prophet asking how to proceed. The prophet inquired of the Lord and received this revelation. See also section 56, which we will be seeing in the future, which is a continuation of the matter. So we'll get to section 56 momentarily. But the 2013 heading says this: selfishness and greed were manifest. Following his mission to the Shakers, see the heading to section 49, Leman Copley had broken his covenant to consecrate his large farm as a place of inheritance for the saints arriving from Colesville, New York. As a consequence, Newell Knight, leader of the members living in Thompson, as opposed to president, and other elders had come to the prophet asking how to proceed. The prophet inquired of the Lord and received this revelation, which commands the members in Thompson to leave Leman Copley's farm and journey to Missouri. So quite a difference there in the language between these sort of modern scriptural things. And again, that's just the section heading. The rest is the same. So some introductions to this revelation. Revelation Book 1 gives us 57th Commandment, June 10th, 1831, a revelation to the church at Thompson, giving them directions what to do, etc. John Whitmer's history gives us this. After this revelation was received, those elders were making all possible speed who were called to go according to commandment, to fill their missions in their several courses. At this time, the church at Thompson, Ohio, was involved in difficulty because of the rebellion of Leman Copley, who would not do as he had previously agreed, which thing confused the whole church. Finally, the Lord spake unto Joseph Smith, Jr., the prophet, saying, you get a revelation. The manuscript history of the church says, 10th of June, 1831, on a Friday, the branch of the church in Thompson, on account of breaking the covenant and not knowing what to do, sent in their elders for me to inquire of the Lord for them, which I did, and received the following. Revelation to Newell Knight, given June 1831. So those are the contemporary versions of it. The historical introduction from Documents, Volume 1 says, the arrangement with Copley apparently granted the Colesville members the privilege to live on the property in return for making improvements upon it. And according to Joseph Knight Sr., they, quote, all went to work and made fence and planted and sowed the fields, unquote. On 7th of May, Copley was called to preach, along with Sidney Rigdon and Parley P. Pratt, to the Shaker settlement in nearby North Union, Ohio. However, the missionary expedition failed to convert any of the Shakers, and the resulting confrontation between the Mormon elders and the Shakers apparently disturbed Copley. He soon went back to North Union, where he apparently reconciled with the Shaker community, and he then returned to Thompson with Shaker leader Ashbel Kitchell, perhaps intending to evict the Mormons. During his visit to Thompson, Kitchell held a meeting with the Mormons on Copley's farm, was involved in a contentious altercation, and initiated efforts to remove them. Joseph Knight Jr. recalled, quote, he had to leave his, or Copley's farm, and pay $60 damage, unquote, adding bitterly that the payment was for, quote, fitting up his houses and planting his ground, unquote. So they did not leave on good terms. And I would say if that's a true statement, like, what a jerk move, man. You like, we did all this stuff to your house and then you're gonna charge us to leave. Like, so anyway, if it's true, kind of a bad situation there. So there you go. After 4 or 5 months, they were already trying to leave again. So historical introduction continues here. Because of the difficulties with Copley, Newell Knight, the presiding elder over the Colesville group, went to Kirtland to consult with Joseph Smith before the conference held in early June. Knight later explained that as a result of a revelation on the 6th of June, the last day of that conference, quote, we now understood that this, Ohio, was not the land of our inheritance, the land of promise. For it was made known in a revelation that Missouri was the place chosen for the gathering of the church, and several were called to lead the way to that state, unquote. Apparently, Copley was actually at this conference. We get this from footnote 8. Although Newell Knight explained that the problems with Copley occurred before the important conference in early June 1831, Copley was reportedly present at the conference, perhaps to learn how the land dispute would be resolved. His name was not among church office holders listed in the conference minutes, but Levi Hancock's account of the conference described not only Copley's presence, but his apparent possession by the devil, which was reportedly cast out by Lyman White. So, little casting out action going on there in the conference. So that man of sin thing that they referred to there that was struck out apparently might have been referring to Leman Copley. Always fun stuff from filling in history. Some content and footnotes from this. We get this phrase from the text, but blessed are they who have kept the covenant and observed the commandment, for they shall obtain mercy. Wherefore go to now and flee the land, lest your enemies come upon you. Footnote 4 we get from the Painesville Telegraph. Man, I can't get away from the Painesville Telegraph. It says, concerning the eviction from Leman Copley's land, Joseph Knight Sr. explained that, quote, we sold out what we could, but Copley took the advantage of us, and we could not get anything for what we had done, so we left the Copleys in June, unquote. According to the newspaper report, the group was forced, quote, to leave their spring crops all upon the ground, unquote. So maybe I take it a little back about the Painesville Telegraph. They also printed the other side of the story. So, kudos to you, journalisms, and very good for you. So we also get this from the text. And to pay monies for you, and thus you shall take your journeys into the regions westward unto Missouri, unto the borders of the Lamanites. And after you have done journeying, behold, I say unto you, seek ye a living like unto men, until I prepare a place for you, and again be patient in tribulation until I come. And behold, I come quickly, and my reward is with me. Footnote 6 to this little phrase. After the group left Thompson, they departed Wellsville, Ohio, on the 3rd of June by boat and arrived in St. Louis on the 13th. From there, they traveled on the steamer Chieftain to Independence, Missouri. So that was the route. That's how they got there, by boat. And that is part 3. And we'll now be moving into our final part of this, which is going to be sections 55, 56, and 57, and a very short thing that is in Documents Volume 1 that they call Notes on Ordinations, a very short piece there. So hang in there with us. I know it's a long one, lots of drama from lots of different places, but hopefully you're enjoying this. So we're going to start part 4 here momentarily. Thank you.